Hi, I'm Dr. Ebony Stone, and this is the Black Woman in the Corner Office. Hello, 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 and welcome to the Black Woman in the Corner Office. I am your host, Dr. Ebony Stone, and as usual, I am here with an amazing guest. Listen, y'all, I'm so excited today to welcome our guest. Like when they say someone after your own heart, like I feel like we live in parallel lives. So I can't wait to get into this conversation. We are going to talk to Miss Ashley Varnado today, and I'm going to read you a little bit of her bio. But I always feel like bios are like, the stuff you tell the public, but then we're going to get into some real stuff afterwards. Okay. So Ashley hails as an experienced strategy and wealth management executive, a philanthropic leader, and community advocate who spent nearly 2 decades building and stewarding complex organizations at the highest levels of corporate finance. Most recently, excelling as one of the youngest managing directors, Ashley led national teams responsible for multi-billion-dollar portfolios, enterprise strategy, and long-term sustainability for individuals, families, and institutions. Her work centered on integration, aligning financial performance with values, community impact, and legacy building, while also creating space for others to lead. However, today, Ashley is intentionally in transition, and this is why I'm so excited to talk to her. After an incredibly successful first half, she has stepped into what she is calling the radical sabbatical. So y'all know the radical sabbatical and the power of the pause together on one podcast. This is about to be a good one, right? So welcome, Ashley. How are you?
Oh, Dr. Ebony, it's so good to be here with you. Listen, I felt the same alignment. I was like, where has she been all of my life? And so I'm so grateful to be able to sit down with you today. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I want to get into the radical sabbatical, but you can't get into the radical sabbatical until you understand kind of what got you there.
Yeah.
So we're going to back up a little bit, and I would love to hear your story. I know you're in the process of writing your story, but why don't you tell us a little bit about your story as far back as you want to go? If you want to go to the beginning, you want to go to high school, college, first corporate job, wherever you want to go. Why don't you tell us a little bit about the beginnings of Ashley?
Oh, I love that. And listen, Dr. Ebony, I got to come see you because there's not enough time for us to talk about all the things. So we will certainly sit down and talk about all the things. A lot of this is included in my book, but in short form, I am a Mississippi native with roots in Louisiana. My family was sold into Louisiana. And then a few of us migrated up to Mississippi. Very humble beginnings. At first, Dr. Ebony, that was something that I really shied away from, but I own that power now. As I certainly believe it has been something that has given me the grit that I needed in order to accomplish some of the things that you mentioned in the bio. I am a church girl through and through, a pastor's daughter, which sometimes carries a negative connotation, but I'm one of the good PKs, y'all. I'm one of the good PKs.
How about this? I didn't even know that, Ashley. Did I share with you that I am too?
No. See, this is why. This is why alignment is so important. This is why we get along so great.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
That's a whole different conversation. We
A
got to come back to
whole
that.
nother conversation. Yes.
Oh, so my parents kept us in church 8 days out of 7 days. They
Yeah.
really emphasized discipline, certainly faith, and education. In our lineage, my parents were the first to graduate college. And
Mhm.
so there was a very strong pull to make sure that we were continuing to set the bar higher for the next generation. And so I certainly received some of the pressure of doing just that. And so they didn't play, and they made it very clear that you were going to earn a scholarship because that was the only way you were going to college. They could not do parental plus loans. That was not a thing. You had to earn your way. And so I did just that, went to Jackson State University, right up the road from where I grew up in Mississippi. That's where I met my husband. I met him on the second day on campus. I often say he kind
Well,
of snatched me up, but Jackson State is really where I got my footing, Dr. Ebony, and I learned that this small town girl could somehow fit and assemble and in some ways stand out amongst the crowd. And so did Jackson State. Um, First realized that I wanted to do corporate at Jackson State. But Dr. Ebony, here's the thing. I only went to college to do accounting because I wanted to be a loan officer. I had
Mhm.
never seen an African American woman in a role higher than a loan officer in my small hometown in Mississippi. And so I was like, well, listen, I'll go to college and do this 1, 2 real quick, and then I'll move back home, be a loan officer. I'll live my days out in peace and prosperity and just be happy. And then my eyes were opened. I applied for an internship with Wells Fargo and went out to San Francisco. Of course, my parents were kicking and screaming, but went out as a 19-year-old to San Francisco, California, and the corporate life has opened up to me and I never looked back. And so did several internships, worked really hard in college because I knew I was at a bit of a disadvantage. First being from Mississippi, an African American woman from Mississippi, not really having a lineage or legacy, if you will, in corporate America, right? I had to kind of get it out of the mud. I had to build my own networks and really my own community. So I knew I had to work hard, did that, several internships, ended up landing a full time offer here in Charlotte, North Carolina. And I've been here for the last 20 plus years doing various roles in finance, strategy, all the things. And so it's been a really, really incredible ride. And only up until recently, I made the decision that it was time to step away. And there were definitely some events, Dr. Ebony, that I know we'll get into that led to that. But yeah, it had been an incredibly successful first half, made youngest African American female managing director, did all of that in a very short period of time. But I learned quickly that that was not the definition of success. And
Mm, mhm.
we are defining what success looks like in this season of life, different and apart from making the money and having the titles in the corner office. So
Yes, yes. There's so many things. Oh my goodness, so many things that I want to unpack there.
let's
One of
do
the
it.
things that you said before we get into kind of the events that led to your decision to take the radical sabbatical was you said, you didn't have legacy. You had to create it out of the mud, which so many of us in our generation did. And when we talk about corporate, we don't often talk about legacy. We talk about legacy when we talk about kind of like the ivies, or we talk about some other things. We talk about legacy, but I think it's important that we stop for a moment and talk about legacy in these corporate spaces, because I don't know about you, but the spaces that I worked in, there were families in those spaces, and we don't talk about it often. You're just like, wait a minute, whose son is that? Whose
Yes.
son is that? Wait, what am I up against? Um, so when you think about that, what I'm just going to ask you, what would you tell not only the people in our position, but the generations coming behind us about building a legacy? Because we're always like, you got to get it yourself.
Oh,
Right?
girl. That has been something that has plagued our community for so long that there could only be one of us at the table, right? There was only enough room for one of us. And it was important to me, and I really talk about this in my book in detail, but it was really important to me after I reached a certain level to make sure that I was creating 10 more people like me and opening the door for 10, 15, 20 more people. I knew that I probably would want to retire at some point in the future. I didn't know it was going to be as abrupt as it was, right? But I knew that it didn't mean anything if I didn't bring others with me. And you're right. I That was one of the first discoveries when I got into corporate America, the culture shock of corporate America. Again, going to an HBCU, you're nurtured, you're wrapped around, you're thrown into a corporate environment, and you're like, oh, wait a minute. I got to figure out this whole new world. I would
Yeah.
see the same thing you experienced. Families,
Yeah.
cousins, sons, daughters. And I would think to myself, man, they had a leg up, right? They
Yeah.
they understood not only this culture and this environment because they could take advantage of parents and uncles and aunts who had already excelled in it.
Mhm. Mhm.
But they also had an inside track to the path upward, the vertical trajectory. And
Yep.
so it is really up to us, Dr. Ebony. And that's one of the reasons I carry this, well, I would call it a cross, but I also call it an honor. I carry this notion that we really do have to make sure that we're not just doing lip service, that we
Right?
really are saying, okay, here's a game plan. This is how you need to say this. This is how you need to do that. And it's been a key part of what I believe should be happening in our communities. I believe if they could do nepotism, if other cultures could do nepotism, why can't we? But
Come
we
on now.
get caught up in this black on black crime that we don't talk about. I discuss it in my book, this black on black crime where it is, by identity, we are in the same circles, but it is the withholding of information, the
Yes.
not mentioning names when you can, the not
Yes.
plugging a sister when you know you can.
Yep.
And again, this notion that there can only be one of us in the big house. There could be one of us at the table. When I'm busting all that down, I'm like, no, I got five more people that I need you to meet, and they're phenomenal talent. And I'm going to bring them into this meeting with me because I need you to know them in case I decide to quit, which again, I did. So I'm glad I did bring the talent in the room with me. So legacy is something, if we're in those spaces and if we're occupying those spaces, we need to make room. And where they won't create room for us, we need to build our own tables. Why can't we?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I remember I was working and we had this big push for interns, right? And we're like, we're hiring from the city of Detroit. I'm born and raised in the city of Detroit. I know what Detroit looks like. And so all of our interns came in and I was like, these ain't Detroit interns. Like, come on now, you're gonna tell me that. So the next season, I said, listen, absolutely, I'm gonna take interns, but I want all of the resumes to come from HBCUs. We're gonna figure
Yeah.
this out because we have to be able to make space for one another. We have to create those legacies, right? We got to bring folks in. So just the word legacy when you were talking just made me think about that. The other thing that you said before we get into kind of some of the reasons you made the decision was you talked about knowing that your family, I believe you said your family was sold into Louisiana and then some folks moved to Mississippi. Do you think knowing that part of your history has kind of fueled you? Like, because so many of us just don't know. We don't know where our families originated. Some of us do, some of us don't. What part do you think that's played in your success, if any, at all?
It's been everything, Dr. Ebony. It's been everything. I want to be very clear in that there are certain parts of our story that we have been able to connect to, but just
Okay.
like most families, right? African American families, there are definitely missing pieces.
Yeah.
But the pieces that we were able to obtain were certainly passed down through generations of the who, the what, the how, and then we've been able to connect that to the census data to connect the dots. It's been a huge part of my why.
Okay.
Um, I mentioned, or may not have mentioned, that my parents were the first college graduates in the lineage. I had
Yeah.
a grandfather who was very instrumental in my life, who went to college for a year but
Okay.
had to step away to take care of his mother, a great grandmother who went to college for a year. Tougaloo College down in Tougaloo, Mississippi,
Hmm.
was the primary HBCU at the time, but nobody could finish. And so, because of that, there was this pressure to make sure that we were honoring our lineage, honoring our ancestors by certainly making sure that we excelled and did everything that we could possibly do. So, I talk about it. That's the premise of my book, Out of the Yazoo Clay, where again, it was the tenacity of those ancestors who would even try at a time when we knew we were getting killed for trying to go to college and do
Yeah.
all the things. But that it was my responsibility to make sure that I was holding up the family legacy. Now, Dr. Ebony, with that came a different kind of pressure, right?
Yeah.
You're celebrated as the first in the family. You're celebrated but then there's this pressure to uphold it and sustain it. And that's where I
Mhm.
started to see some of the things crack in my own mental health and in my physical well-being, etc. To again make sure I was honoring the legacy and the lineage and doing all the things, but also making sure that I could sustain it in a way that was healthy and carrying healthy ambition versus trying to prove a point.
Yeah.
And so it's been the main reason I did it all. My great grandmother, really quickly. Um, I tell this story in my book, but my great grandmother had married, obviously, my great grandfather. They were sharecroppers.
Okay.
And she decided that she no longer wanted to be a sharecropper. She was going to save money that she scrapped from cotton to go buy land in Yazoo City out of the Yazoo Clay. She
Yeah.
wanted to be entrepreneur in the height of like the 1940s, a female African American entrepreneur. She wanted to own a lounge called the Hot Spot. My
The
great
hot
grandfather
spot.
didn't eat the hot spot, and it was hot, girl. Listen, I talked to the elders of the town. I'm like, oh, she was off the chain for real.
Yeah.
Um, but my great grandfather didn't believe in it. And so
Mm.
they ended up separating. She
Okay.
took the money that she made, and she did. She went and bought that land. They built the hot spot with materials that they could find. It was one of the highest places in town. But it
Mm.
was her tenacity, not college educated, not anything. She just had a dream, and she wanted to go plant seeds in the Yazoo Clay. And so I would learn about those types of things, and I was saying, if she had a education, just imagine what she could have done. And so now it's my responsibility. I bear the responsibility of taking what she did times 10. So that's just
Yeah.
an example of, yeah, the lineage was a huge part of why I
Yeah.
did all the things that I did.
Absolutely. I listen. Come on, grandma. The hot spot. The hot spot could be hot today. Like that's time, all right? I love that. The tenacity is just absolutely amazing. And yes, many of us are first generation college graduates. And we are you and I talked about this when we spoke the other day. We are literally our ancestors' wildest dreams come true. And so that is really a different type of pressure that we live under. And so over the last year, I'll just say it's probably been 9 months, but we started out hearing that 300 Black women had lost their jobs. The latest numbers I heard were 600,000. I don't think that 600,000 counts, and I could be wrong. I'd have to do some research, but I don't think that 600,000 counts those that actually left on their own, right? Those are the 600,000 are the people that are the Black women that did not make the decision, but many of us made the decision on our own. So I want to get into why you made the decision to leave. Um, and I also want to understand your opinion as to why you think it's happening right now with so many of us. So let's talk a little bit about what made you make the decision to leave this extremely successful career. You're your ancestors' wildest dreams. You've been fueled by the stories. You've researched the stories. You know what's going on in your lineage, and you're living what we would think that our ancestors dreamed of. And then you say, okay, yeah, pump the brakes.
Yeah.
I'm stepping away. Tell us
Yeah.
how we got here.
It's interesting. So you work so hard, again, knowing that you have to honor your family's legacy. You work so hard to attain a certain level of success. And Dr. Ebony, like so many of us, I did that and I did it really quickly. But after I got there, the air was very thin. You hear that all the time. It didn't feel the way that I thought it would. Yes, I was very proud of the things that I have been fortunate enough and blessed enough to accomplish. But the level of, I made it, it was not there. In fact, it was increased pressure, right? I
Yes.
feel like I worked harder at the levels that I was working so hard to attain than I did when I was climbing the corporate ladder.
Yes.
And so because of that, I started to realize, well, I thought this is what I wanted, right? I worked so hard and got all the good grades, and had worked day and night to show up because of this thing that I had accomplished. But I'm starting to realize very slowly that that's not what I needed at all. It looked good on paper, but was it good for my soul,
Right.
right? Um,
Yes. Yes.
So, I am coming to this discovery about 2 or 3, maybe even 4 years ago. I knew 4 years ago that this was going to be the thing. I just didn't know how or where. And of course, the fear of one, disappointing your family, like we talked about, by deciding to step away or taking a step back. Two, certainly, how are we going to eat, right? Like I'm the, I, you know,
Right.
I've become accustomed to a certain lifestyle. And so, how is that going to change if I make this decision? And then three, I want to, certainly make sure that whatever I do next is going to create some level of happiness and create purpose so that I'm helping other people who would aspire to do these types of things. I want to have some purpose in my life. I don't want to just keep making money for people.
Right.
I want some purpose. All those things are rolling around. 2025 hits, Dr. Ebony. I kid you not. January 1st, I said to my family, I said, this year feels different from any other year. I can't explain it. I was doing the
Mhm.
usual, the black eyed peas, the cabbage
Yeah.
greens, etc. And I'm in my kitchen cooking. And I'm like, y'all, something is different about this year. This just doesn't feel the same.
Yeah.
I had no idea that only months later, my mother-in-law would pass away pretty abruptly. She was only
Mm.
61, Dr. Ebony, would pass away pretty abruptly, left us all completely stunned. My husband's an only child. And so that rocked our world in such a way. And I had dealt with deaths before, pretty traumatic and close deaths before, but this one was trying because we were such a small and close knit family. And so she passed away. We had to kind of rejigger our lives. She was on the heels of retirement.
Mm.
She was about to retire in December of last year. So she had about 6, 7 more months before she got ready to
Okay.
retire. And that clicked for me. I was like, wait a minute, she's been working all this time. We've been looking so forward to retirement and her helping us with these kids. Okay. And we were like, you need to come to Charlotte and hang out with us, girl. We'll get you a room. Look in the house, come hang out. But it was all snatched from her in a moment. That was the one of the things that led to it. And just the mental emotional changes that it took us through. But Dr. Evan, let me tell you, two more things. The first thing that I'm going to mention is that shortly after she passed away, I knew I had to be off on business, right? The business piece of it was planned, but you can't plan for life. But I
Right.
knew I needed to be off on business. I had to travel for work, and it was a really important meeting. And we're sitting here planning the funeral, quite literally. I'm not sure how to say to my husband, who's the only child burying his mother, right? That I need to go to work, right? I got to get on the plane because money needs to be made. I got obligations to these people. But I found a way to say, listen, you remember I had the thing. So we got to adjust, etc. for that. And he gave me this look, Dr. Ebony. It was almost empty, but he gave me this look like, girl, you really talking to me about
Uh,
this? Like right now? And I'm like, yeah, but so I do the thing. My sons and my husband dropped me off at the airport. And again, they had to unfortunately make some changes in the timing of the service as a result. They dropped me off at the airport, and my 13-year-old son, who was 12 at the time, looked at me as I was getting out of the car. And he was like, are you really leaving right now?
yeah.
And I go, oh snap, like something's got to change.
Yeah.
Um, and then later that year, all the pressures, all the things that we talk about as a result of being as visible as you are at this level and handling $25 billion in assets and doing all the things, it creates a different level of pressure. My body completely stopped on me, Dr. Eden.
God.
I
You did.
didn't even get to this part, and you let me know if we want to pause on it, but I didn't realize that my body was shutting down as it was. I ignored all the signs of stress being or inducing some health related concerns. But in October of last year, I ended up having 3 strokes, girl. Um,
Mm.
and my body was telling me the entire time that I needed to slow down. But I
Yes.
wasn't listening because, grandmama and them tell us get some ginger ale and crackers and go lay
Yeah.
down. And I believed that for a long time. I was like, let me go get this ginger ale. If I take a nap, I should be better when I wake up. Girl, Big Mama and them couldn't have been more wrong. They were right about a lot of things, but ginger ale and crackers do not work for issues that serious. And
Correct.
so, yeah, my strokes led to me saying, you know what? None of this, all the things that I've been working to attain, it doesn't mean anything when your life is hanging in the balance and you don't know if you're going to be in a nursing home or if you're ever going to be able to speak again. And so it was at that point I said, you know what? That was my wake up call. All the things of 2025, which is a chapter in my book, is called A Summer Call 2025. All those things led to me saying that I'm going to choose a different path. And I may go back into corporate at some point, but right now, I need to pause and really understand the meaning of life and really determine if this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. So, yeah, a lot to unpack there, but all those things led to me saying, yeah, I'll see y'all later.
Yes. Listen, let me give a shout out to our husbands, our soulmates, our brothers out there, because I don't think they don't get enough credit. And the story you just told, I'm sure that was hurtful for him. You probably got an empty look because he could not believe it, right? But and I will tell you, my poor husband, I took him through the ringer, right? And I don't think we talk enough about, these men supporting us. So shout out to your husband, shout out to mine for taking us through the pauses, the sabbaticals, all the things that we need to get through. And shout out to them kids for being honest. Oh,
Oh,
we
girl, it honest to the point where it hurt. I was like, I pay for you, right? You go, I'm going so I can pay for you to go to soccer camp. Like, what are you talking
right,
about? But that
right.
honesty was so necessary at that point, and I was like, it hurt, but it was fair. It was
Yeah.
fair.
What?
And
Yeah,
so,
I get it. I get it. I shared with you before how my daughter looked at me one day like, "How many more loans you got to do? Like, what are you doing? Like, come on now, mom." So I want to unpack some of these things, and I didn't ask you this the other day, but I'm curious. So for me, my experience, I think a lot of people look and they're like, "Oh, they're saying," and I actually had somebody say, "Ebony feels like woe is me," or "She's so miserable when she's got it made." And I did not have a bad experience in corporate
yeah,
America. Like that wasn't my experience. It wasn't that I was surrounded by bad people. I wasn't. I was surrounded by amazing people, many of whom I still speak to today. But for me, there was something missing. There was a hole. There was something. It was a emptiness that was also causing the stress and the anxiety, and my body was reacting to it, not because these were bad people or bad environments, but it wasn't for me in that
yes,
moment.
yeah.
um would you agree? Was that your experience? I know a lot of people say they had horrible experiences. I didn't have a horrible experience.
Yeah, yeah. My experience is very similar to yours. I mean, you're gonna get a cast of characters in
Well, yeah.
anything, like
Yeah.
whether it's corporate America, church, whether it's you a part of a sorority, or if you're gonna deal with the complexity of human nature, right?
Yeah.
And so I think sometimes corporate America can get a really bad rep.
Yeah.
But you're gonna have personalities that align to you and that don't align to you in anything that you touch where humans are involved. So we got to dispel that myth. You go teach school, they have issues too, right? So um, but yeah, my experience was very similar. I had an incredible experience. Was it all perfect? No, right?
Right.
Did it include stress? Absolutely. But did it help me grow? Absolutely. My decision wasn't necessarily because of the cast of characters, right, that
Yes.
I was dealing with at the time. It was that same level of emptiness that you described, where, again, I've worked so hard to attain all these things, and they don't truly make me happy. That's what it
Right.
came down to. I
Right.
was making more money I had ever made, and
Yes.
I would, Dr. Ebony, no joke. I am giving away these purses right now, selling them at discounts. But when I would feel bad for myself, or when I would feel that level of emptiness, I would go buy a bag. And I'm not talking
Mm,
about no little bags. I would go online in the middle of the night trying to fulfill that void. And I would
yep.
go buy myself the nicest bag, and I would get the bag here. I'd have the excitement that it was coming. When it get here, I'd look at it, and then that emptiness would come right back. And
Yep.
you know what? I'm trying to buy my happiness. And in reality, I need to just come completely clean with myself and realize that it can't be attained in things and titles and corner offices and awards, etc.
Mm,
And that was a harsh reality because you're taught growing up, especially from the lineages that we're from, that if you work hard, these things should put you in a place of some level of fulfillment. When in reality, that's just not reality. And
yes.
so I had a great experience. Great experience. Certainly, some experiences outweighed others relative to them being positive or
Sure.
impacting me positively. But yeah, it wasn't because somebody pushed me out or made, yeah, it was, no, it was not that. It was me making a radical decision that I wanted to pivot. And I
Yeah.
wanted to do something more. And I felt like I was being called to do something more than to contribute to the bottom line of a company who was already making a whole lot of money.
Yes. Yes. And you're making a whole lot of money for them,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Listen, I got a thing about bags too, but I'll never forget the first time I was like, I deserve a pair of red bottoms. I'm gonna buy me some red bottoms. And so I remember ordering them and they came to the house and I remember opening the box and putting them on and was like, huh. And I end up returning them because it's just not, it wasn't as fulfilling. I will tell you, the bags, the shoe. Well, I do have a thing for shoes. I do love
Me
shoes,
too.
but that is, it was just like I bought the shoes not necessarily because I liked them. I bought the shoes because it was like a status thing.
Yes.
So I bought them, and then, like you said, that didn't fulfill me. Nowhere near as much as it does to go down here to the Eastern Market and choose my little tomato plant that's gonna cost me $1.50, right? Right. Chasing the things is it's even more emptying. And I think in today's society where we see people chase the things, I just had this conversation earlier this week. Thank you, Jesus. Uh, we're chasing the things and you see it on the internet, and that makes people chase even more. I'm way off the subject, but that's the bags.
No,
That's
you're
what I made me think of. Like, right, we're chasing these things, and they do nothing for you.
it. Listen, you are on my street. You are on my street, Dr. Ebony. We are in pursuit of the things, believing that the things will fulfill us when really that fulfillment comes from within. I cannot tell you how much happier I was when I didn't have resources to buy the things versus when I was able to buy the things. And the switch of that has just been phenomenal to watch. My husband and I talked about struggling in college, and we were like, look, we were so much happier when we were just trying to put money together to buy pizza, right? The pizza just tasted so much better. And now we can buy all the pizza we want and it'll sit there, right? And
Yep.
so there's something compelling about us chasing the things of this world when really we weren't created to do that. That's
Not
not
at
why
all.
we were created. And in this consumer environment, and where again, outside validation is the way that you determine your worth. I got so many likes, or I got so many follows, etc. I am of a much different mindset. If I'm connected to somebody, Dr. Ebony, I want it to be genuine. I want it to be authentic. I'm not in pursuit of a million followers. I just want to help people not have strokes. I want to help people understand that life is so much more than the things that we're talking about. If I get a chance to do that with 5 people, then I would have fulfilled my purpose, right?
Yes.
And so, yeah, the internet right now is tough, especially for these young kids, because they are chasing the things. And I'm like, you'll learn. Mama had all those things, and I am still, in pursuit of what is going to bring me personal purpose. So, yeah, no, you are on track. I'm living that every
Oh,
single day.
man, the things like, listen, I told you right before we started recording that I am just maybe about 6 months, not even 6 months. Let me see, maybe 4 months away from being an empty nester. My husband and I were like, what are we doing with this house? Like, I can go get, honestly, just a small, I can downsize and just get a small condo or small little house on a lake somewhere, like a little bitty private lake, and
Yeah,
just so
yeah,
I can look at the water, right? Not that I gotta live on a lake status thing, but I just want to be able to look at the water. Go outside and garden. That's enough for me. That's enough for me. Being able to have conversations with women like you, right? And to share these conversations, it brings me more joy than any of the systems that I've set up and put in place in corporate, than any of the deals that were closed or the negotiations that happened or the positions that were created. Just being able to have these conversations and share, and have someone say thank you because I thought I was by myself, is more fulfilling than anything that I've done in the, like you said, decades long career. So all that being said, you make the decision to walk away. um and now what? Because I remember the same thing, like, oh, how we gonna eat? So not really how we're gonna eat, but right, things got to
Yeah,
change because I'm
yeah,
missing half the income now, right?
yes,
So,
yeah.
what do you do next?
Oh man, it so I tell people that so a part of my my what I do next was really focused on my health. I have to say that because again, you got to think about it. I'm coming off of um, three pretty traumatic medical events. I literally, Dr. Ebony, the left side of my body is not functioning the way that it's supposed to. My face, and I thank God for this, but my face was even a bit disfigured as a result of it. So it was really for me focused on healing. I was hell bent on getting back in heels. And so
Mm,
all the physical therapy, all the things, and I'm grateful to now be back in a little bit of a kitten heel, right? I can give them a little 2 inch, 2.5. I'm gonna work my way back up to the 4 and the 5s. So a big
yes,
part of it was let me heal because it's at this point it's not just about what am I gonna do next, but well let me heal. The next piece, once my healing started to take place, was really then the shock of did I just do that? And did I make the right decision? And am I crazy? Who leaves at the height of their career, right? When you have guaranteed income, whether you loved it or not, who makes that decision to do it unless you were told by a higher being that that's what you had to do? And so I went through a bit of a depression. I'm not gonna hold you. I listen in this season of my life. I'll keep it real. There was a
yes,
little bit of depression and me wondering and having mind battles on did I do the right thing? Was I acting
mhm,
too abruptly?
yes,
And in the depth of that depression, Dr. Ebony, I would say that the spirit spoke to me and let me know that he let me live so that I could tell my story and that I could help somebody else.
yes,
And that's where this book was birthed. It
yes,
was how do I get this information out and how can I make sure that while there are so many little girls and young professionals who aspire to do what I did, helping them to have healthy ambition and doing
yes,
it the right way and for the right reason and opening doors for others and helping to create legacy for those that come behind us versus this rat race, right? That
yes,
we find ourselves in. And so my next was how can I put all these thoughts? One, how can I, come out of heal? How can I come out of this depression? But how can I fuel this thought that I got to put this on paper and I got to turn my pain into purpose. And
yes,
so that's what it has turned into for me. I will tell you, I've been courted by a few organizations. I'm not ashamed to say, and they're all like, "Listen, we saw how much money you made for them people. Come on over here." We're not gonna have you on planes, 8 days out of a 7-day work week. Like we're gonna take care of you. And I tell you, I got an offer from one of those organizations 2 weeks ago, three
mm,
weeks ago, and 3 weeks ago. They were talking good. They were talking good. It was an attractive offer. And I called my parents and baby boomers, they both grew up in the civil rights era. So when they hear dollar signs, cha-ching, they're like, okay, well, you should be better now. Get you a walker and go on back downtown. Like you can figure it out. But God told me no. God told me no. God said it was not time yet. And I had asked for several signs. And he made it very clear. My higher being is what I call him in case I don't want to offend anybody, but my belief system made it clear that it was not time yet, that I had to finish this before I
yes,
pursued anything else. And I had to go ahead and birth this. And so my husband was looking at me crazy and was like, okay, this is what next? You're gonna be a full-time author. I was like, I don't know. I just know that I can't move until I finish this book. And then we'll see then. So I'm still writing the story. That's the fun part about it though, right? It's the scary part, but it's the exciting part because you get to whiteboard. You don't have to see the next 20 years all
yep,
in this corner office because that can be a little
mm,
mundane and boring too. I really
yes,
believe and I live by this notion that you jump out and take these risks so you can have something to write in your book. What else are
yes,
you gonna write? Right? What what
yes.
what is gonna be the exciting part of your story? That you sat there for 50 years and you did the same every day for 50 years. I did not want that to be my story. So we're writing it as we go, Dr. Edmond. We're writing it as we go.
Absolutely, absolutely. That listen, I I remember thinking to myself, because it does get hard, right? Part of the reason I left was because I sank into the depression before leaving, and the depression was not, it was not a good thing, right? Not that depression is ever a good thing. The anxiety, the depression, it was getting to me. Um, and so you go through this journey, right? It's a continual journey, but you're healing, you're feeling better, and I'm like, okay, I'm feeling better. And old habits come back. I'm like, I need this check. Let me go get a job, right? And I could not figure out, Ashley, why. I'm like, I got all the experience, all the accolades, all the degrees. Like, what is going on? Why? Because I didn't have the offers, right? I was not getting the offers, and I was like, what is happening? And just like you, like God is like, look, and that ain't what I told you to do. So I'm
Mm,
not taking away for you to do it, right?
mm.
I told you what you need to do. And so I had to make the decision, right? And I'm like, okay, I got to go all in. I can't be 1 foot in and 1 foot out. Like, no. And I say that to say, very much like you, when you decide to go all in, God makes a way. So while we worried about how we're gonna eat, he's like, don't worry about that. I got you. You gonna eat, all your stuff. I tell people all the time, I ain't missed a meal or a bill. So we're good. God will take care of you. I love that when he puts you on a path, that he will take care of you. And I'm so, so glad that he is taking care of you and allowing you to write this book and getting it out here and doing all the things, allowing you to heal and get into your 2 inches. We are claiming the 4 or 5 inches because Lord knows I love me a good stiletto. So I want to
Come
see you
on
there.
now. You
Right?
got to have a stiletto. They just, so I thank
Yeah.
you for I receive all of that, Dr.
Yes,
Ed.
ma'am. So
I'm
tell us a little more about the book. When can we expect it? I know you're still working on it, right? Do you have release dates or not yet? I'm excited because I'm gonna tell you right now, I'm gonna be one of the first to purchase it. I can't wait. But
oh
tell us a little bit about it, where we can, all the things that are coming.
well, before we talk about my book, The Power of the Pause, in case the people have not picked that up. Listen, I had not, and surprisingly, if I had, I probably would have called you or tried to reach out to you, Dr. Ebony, way before we got a chance to actually meet because our experiences have been so similar. But for those who have not picked up The Power of the Pause, go pick it up right now. It will
Oh,
bless your life. I've been reading it, and that's one of the reasons
thank
I can't finish
you.
my book. I've been reading yours, and it's amazing. It's amazing.
Thank
So
you.
I'm so grateful for you being obedient and putting that on paper. You've been an inspiration to me to go ahead and finish. But yeah, so Out of the Yazoo Clay will be released midsummer, is what we are targeting right now. It is absolutely the story that we've been talking through today, how my lineage and how the pieces came together on the Yazoo clay, which by definition is a terrible soil. It is terrible for foundations. It tends to swell up with rain and then it contracts. And a lot of the roads that have Yazoo clay in our hometown in Mississippi, they crack. It's
Mm,
not good for planting any seeds of any sort. Your house may fall right through the ground because we have so many potholes because this clay, while it has some great attributes, there are very few things that come out of that clay or
mm,
can be planted in that clay or in that soil that will grow. And so
mm,
the notion out of the Yazoo clay talks about my roots being planted in the Yazoo clay, literally, but that out of that, something beautiful came and honoring my lineage, etc. And then our family surname is Claiborne. And so
oh,
it's a name play on both the soil that, again, our families planted seeds in and our family surname. And so it really visits the lineage, all the things that led to me becoming who I am today, all the nuance and me really understanding why I was the way that I was and why there was this pressure to do all the great things and still honoring that lineage, but really talking about this pivot where, again, you can still honor your ancestors and their dreams, and you can honor your dreams at the same time. But it really visits this concept, Dr. Ebony, of rest. We did
yeah,
not see our parents, our grandparents rest. They weren't allowed to.
no,
And sometimes we feel guilty. about
Yeah.
this thing of rest. And so,
Yeah.
how do we honor our ancestors? Yes, go get all the degrees, go get the big jobs, go do all those things, but also allow yourself the freedom to rest. And I'm not talking about
Mm,
day work weeks. I'm not talking about the 4 weeks of vacation that the company will give you. Companies are now doing sabbaticals as well, but they still
yeah.
want you up just in case something happens.
Yes.
I'm saying be intentional about strategically planning to step
Mm-hmm.
away at the height
Mm-hmm.
of your career or
Mm-hmm.
whenever the time is right for you, and sitting back to really determine what that next step will be. Like I said, it may lead you back into whatever you were doing before, or it may lead you selling oranges on the beach in Jamaica.
Yeah.
Whatever that thing is, right? Having the awareness to pause and being strategic about that pause is what I think really honors our ancestors in a real way, because they never got to rest. They were waiting until the by and by, Ebony, to rest. Think about those hymns we used to hear growing up, like those Negro
Yep.
spirituals. They were waiting
Yes.
their reward when really we
Yes.
have the resources if we use them the right way. We have the
Yes.
resources to be able to honor them by resting now and not waiting until the end of our life
Yes.
to rest. And so it covers all of that and how folks can do it.
Yes. That's what our ancestors worked for. What
Yes.
they prayed for was for us to have a better life. And so we
Yes.
should live that life. I love that you are honoring that in your book. I just simply cannot wait to get my hands on it. I'm a reader, listener most times, but also a reader. So I can't wait to hear it, to read it. So we will definitely be letting our listeners know when it is out. But tell us what else we can expect from Ashley. We know the book is coming. What else do you have going on? How do people follow you? How do they keep in touch with you? Like somebody's gonna say, I need to know more about Ashley. So what do they do to get in touch with you and follow you going forward?
Oh, thank you, Dr. Ebony. Listen, I can be found on Instagram, which is new to me, y'all. Y'all be patient with me because I'm learning
Girl.
social media. I'm learning it and learning the public side of social media. But I have a really great team of folks who are helping me get educated and up to speed on it. So I can be found on Instagram at the Ashley Exchange. It's with two E's, THEE, Ashley, ASHLEY Exchange. My website is www.theashleyexchange.com. I'm also on LinkedIn. And I love Dr. Ebony's post. So if y'all don't follow her yet, go on LinkedIn, go create a LinkedIn profile. But I can be found as Ashley D. Varnado, V as in Victor, ARNADO on LinkedIn as well. So please connect with me again. Dr. Ebony and I share this. We believe in authentic connections. We don't just want followers just for the sake of having count. Like we want to be able to help you and tune in with you. And if you're even thinking about the power of the pause or doing a radical sabbatical, we'd love to connect with you to just talk you through how we made those decisions and then the exciting part about being able to recreate yourself. So yeah, I can be found at all of those social media handles. And I'm doing a lot of fun things right now, Dr. Ebony. I'm on the news. I
Yes.
do Fox News on a weekly basis as a economist and a strategist. I am speaking, doing several speaking engagements, just talking to different rooms about what it means to excel at the highest levels, and then making the decision and having the courage to pivot, even when it doesn't make sense to anybody else. And I am working a lot with incredible women who are dealing with some of the same corporate pressures that you and I have experienced, and balancing that with being a mother and a wife, and how to really make sure that you're putting things into perspective. In my book, I really talk about that being one of the hardest pieces for me, this whole concept of work life integration, which is possible. But that pressure created a depression for me. I was at one point out there thinking about maybe I shouldn't be here anymore because I ain't got to deal with any
Mm,
of this, right? If I'm not here anymore. But just talking through, having some real talks about what that looks like and then how to push through that, despite whatever spiritual system or belief system that folks are aligned to. So yeah, I'm outside, girl. I'm working more now than I was when I was in the
yes.
office.
Yes,
I'm
yes,
outside.
yes. I love it. I love it. I love it. But we need you outside. We need people to see what is happening. We need people to understand. So y'all go follow Ashley on all the places. Watch her on Fox News. I'm gonna go check her out. I'll be a I'll be a watcher of Ashley on Fox News, right? All of those
That's right.
things. Yes, yes. Go check her out. And I'm gonna tell y'all. So I may have said this one other time, and I'm gonna figure this out. But we're gonna get Ashley to Detroit, or I'm gonna get to Charlotte, and we're gonna do some stuff together live, right? So that we're just not on these screens. I can't wait to do it. I just feel like our energy together would be absolutely amazing. So I can't wait to figure that out. I found me a new friend, y'all. I hope you
Me
did too.
too.
Yes, yes,
Listen, they say no new friends. I don't believe in that anymore. Look, listen, when the alignment and the energy and really the Holy Spirit, when it aligns, I'm
yes,
all about listen, sis,
yes,
teach me. Teach me.
yes,
I want to learn. So I'm so glad I found you. It has been the
yes.
blessing of my life, one of the biggest blessings of my life. So thank you,
Yeah.
Dr.
Oh, thank you. Well, listen, Ashley, before we get out of here, I got to ask you the question I ask all my guests before we leave. Okay. Somebody says, hey, we want to make a story of Ashley's life and it's going to play on the big screen. What would you call the movie? And do you know who would play the character of Ashley?
Ooh. So I know who would play the character of Ashley.
Okay.
Gabrielle Union. I feel like
Okay.
we kind of have some similar characteristics, although she is much pretty, like she's gorgeous. So
Oh,
I'll
you are
probably pick Gabrielle
gorgeous.
Union to
Okay.
do the to play me. Um, and I would probably call the movie Out of the Yazoo Clay. I would keep it very true to the vision of this book. And so yeah, that's that, I never thought about it. That's a good question. That didn't stump me on that one. I got to think about that one a little bit more. But yeah, Gabrielle Union is probably who I would ask them to call first, for
All
sure.
right, then. So listen, Gabrielle, we might have a movie coming your way, right? Out of the Yazoo Clay. We want to see you on that big screen. So listen, you guys, it has been an absolute joy to speak to Ashley today. I hope this has filled you the way it has filled me. And I hope if you don't take anything else away from today, you remember what Ashley said. It's okay to take a radical sabbatical, even when it don't make sense to nobody else, but you and God. You can absolutely do it. And Ashley is here to help. I'm here to help as well. Ashley, thank you so much for being here. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. I cannot wait to do this again. I can't wait to see you soon.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, guys, you know what to do. Keep spreading that Black girl magic on everything you do. And we'll see you next time. Bye bye.